right, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Your Idiot League Mates. We have a huge
Normally
day.
get the whole fucking intro. What is that?
It's too long.
Off-season.
It's too long. Yeah. I need to rest the lungs during the off season.
Okay.
Training camp.
Right.
He's getting back into smoking. It was his New
Holy-
Year's
Holy
resolution.
Cancun.
Yeah.
I mean, my boy is in Cancun right now.
I picked up smoking for the new year. All right, big day today. We got awards that we got to hand out. Some of us had great years, some of us not so great years, but we're going to commemorate it either way. So if you didn't already know, last episode we shouted it out. There was a link down below where you could go vote. Basically, the way we did it is we came up with the prompts, the awards that we wanted to give out. The people in the league put their best vote out. Those became the nominees, and then you guys at home voted for who you think should be the winner.
What was the average, like, how many votes did we have, like, per?
6.
About 6. Pretty much everybody filled out all votes, and we had about 700, a little over 700 responses.
700?
Yeah.
Dub, okay.
Y'all are locked in.
Good
Shout
sample
out
size.
y'all.
It was a good.
Time to spam them and market them.
Yeah,
Oh,
I had so many bots.
I thought about it. I was like, do I collect their emails? Do I get their
Did
phone
we?
numbers?
We had to have.
Nah, I didn't. I just wanted people to voice their opinion. I didn't want it to be next time.
I think you have to have emails.
Bro thinks he's America. You don't need voter ID. You
No,
can just
you don't.
scroll
You
up
don't.
to the polls and
There was
click
huge.
buttons.
You ever heard of running a business?
Look, next time we will, because I think when we see these results, there was some voter fraud probably. All right.
Damn.
And
we have to recount them.
Right. This reminds me of like, remember 2011 when Peyton Hillis hit the Madden cover because the Browns fans voted? This is why people can't vote for shit. You ruin it when we do a fans vote. But anyways.
It is a little biased for sure.
We'll get into it. Let's start with the first award, which is going to be the Cone of the Year. Now, this went to a player who you started every week because either he had good name value, you drafted him early, but week after week, he continued to do borderline nothing.
I want to start off by this was easily, by far and away, the biggest snub of the awards year, not having Kyle Pitts on there.
So a lot of
Insane.
people were
That
voicing.
is so true.
A lot of people said that.
Wait,
Kyle
I
Pitts
figured
should
he
been
would have
Cone.
won.
I not agree. Like, if you just ask without looking at the nominees, you just
Holy
assume it's Pitts.
shit.
Did you start him weekly?
No, see that's.
I mean, I
that's
started
the
him
issue.
probably up until, like, week 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nah, you gotta start him into like.
It's got to be like every single week. The problem is like Kyle Pitts
He
eventually
holds
made.
weight, though.
You had him on your roster, but eventually he made his way to the bench, and eventually he made his way to the waiver wire. Like that was just a bust.
He went from, like, week 10 starter to, like, on the waiver wire. Right, he's exactly Cone. Fucking absolute Cone thing.
I think there's different levels to where like Cone is above a bust. Like bust is like disaster. Cone was like you gave me just enough to believe in to where
I'm
we
just
rode
saying,
with
to
you.
me, this feels like Amon Ra being first team All Pro, not making the Pro Bowl.
All right, yeah,
Who are the
a little bit.
nominees?
Yeah, who are the nominees?
All right, so nominees were
I won't cut you off again, except for there.
you're good. Debo Samuel, wide receiver for the 49ers. Jalen Waddle, wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins. C.J. Stroud, quarterback for the Texans, and Jaden Reed, wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers.
See, I
didn't
feel like
think-
you didn't
I
play
didn't-
Two
Waddle.
J-Mo teams.
Beat once two a guy.
No. I got stats for us because let me pull them up.
I didn't
forgot to
think
get 'em.
Reed should have been on.
Why? He turned out to be like a legit.
But the first half of the season, he was like top 10 wide receiver.
Was it?
Yeah.
It was very good to start.
So
Stroud and Debo.
Talking about-
I feel like Debo won. He had to win.
I feel like the correct answer is Stroud, but he didn't get the votes.
Stroud, yeah, he just doesn't
Stroud
have enough
is the
juice.
correct
Like, a
answer.
random
No, but-
quarterback, too, doesn't feel like he's got enough juice to
and
win
also
this.
because Debo was like putting up bagels. Like Stroud would at
Stinkers.
least put up 9 points, which could be better than a flex player on. Week
I also kind of think the way, like, our content probably dictates a lot of these answers. Like, we talked about
100%.
Waddle a lot. I feel like to the point where he probably is
I don't think
winner.
Waddle.
I think he won.
I don't.
I
think
would
he
say
won.
Waddle won this.
So,
I have
quick
to predict.
overview of the nominees. Jaden Reed drafted in the 8th round by JMO. Finished the year as wide receiver 20, but on a points per game basis, finished as wide receiver 36. In weeks 1 through 6, when Jaden Reed was actually good, you played him 4 times. And then he had the biggest Cone transformation as you played him every week
Fire.
after
Fire.
you benched him one time in the middle of the season, beginning to middle season, and you played him the rest of the way.
And he probably was like wide receiver 60 from that.
Right, he was terrible. And you played him in the playoffs where he notoriously gave you a goose egg, acting like a real Cone.
You were hyped about him, too.
That wasn't in the playoffs.
You played him in the playoffs.
Don't mix that up. The goose egg was not in the playoffs.
I'm pretty sure.
It wasn't because it was against Nick
Yeah.
in Texas, in Dallas. It was right
That's
before.
the
It was before, but to be fair, like,
Sorry.
Reed was kind of just
Sorry,
coming
I'm getting my Cone nominees confused here. It was Jalen Waddle,
Yes.
the other
Yes,
Cone
gotcha,
of the year who you played in playoffs. threw up the 0. You drafted Waddle in the 4th round, right over your
Christ.
beloved Justin Herbert. He was wide receiver 48 on the year, wide receiver 55 on a points per game basis. You played him in 10 games, including a playoff game where he threw the goose egg, and 8 out of 9 Tua games. So obviously when Tua was out, you only played him once with the Skylar Thompson carousel, what was ever going on there, but you played him a lot, even though Tua was not delivering to Waddle. Deebo Samuel, now kind of a weird journey, drafted by me in the 4th, then traded to Joe, then traded to Andrew. He was on Andrew's team for the longest, wide receiver 41, 45 on a points per game basis. Andrew started him 5 out of 5 games. Joe started him 4 out of 4 games. I started him 3 out of 3 games.
Everybody thought.
See, like I think that's the cone. If you start every game, and he should.
Everybody thought they were saving fucking Debo out here.
Yep. I mean, people continue to buy him off of like other rosters.
I would have bought him if I could have.
Right? I remember I sold him, and you were like, "Bro, like you fucked up. Like that was too early." 4 games for Debo above 18 points. The other 8 had less than 10. So he again had a few games where he gave you enough hope to keep playing him, but overall was not great. So if we go to the total votes here, what do you guys think? You guys all sounds like you all going like Debo.
I think
I think Waddle
just
might get
because
the
the
vote.
narrative.
Agreed. I think Waddle was a little more prominent in our content.
I don't know. I've talked myself into Debo. Like
Debo was a big group chat guy,
Yeah.
but not actual cameras rolling.
Yeah, I just feel like everyone knows he was the cone of the year. So I'm gonna trust the people.
So with 50.7% of the votes, Deebo Samuel is the cone of the year for 2024.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So we're now going to cut it away to Andrew, where he's going to give an acceptance speech because he had Deebo Samuel the longest. I'm not taking responsibility for that shit.
Right, you traded him away.
Right,
That was
right,
sharp.
right.
That was sharp.
So supposedly I have to accept an award on behalf of Deebo fucking Samuel as the biggest cone of the year for your idiot league mates. Look, Deebo, this is not an award to be proud of. This means you were the worst player to roster in fantasy football. You do not want to take this award and show it to your grandparents, your kids, your wife, your mom and dad. Don't show it to anybody because it means you are a disgrace. I had the worst time having you on my roster. I'm not going to lie. I don't know how I let these bozos, my idiot league mates over there in YIL, tell me that Adam Thielen was a scumbag and make me not want to play him because Adam Thielen, you are a much better player than this cone in Deebo Samuel. Now, I will admit, when I did trade for him from Joe told me this was going to be the worst experience of my life rostering Deebo Samuel. And Joe, I'm sorry I didn't believe you. I was smitten in the fact that I just needed wide receiver play. I didn't care who it was. I thought Deebo Samuel, hey, I'll take that and put that on my team. He is a fucking landmine. He's the worst. I absolutely hate this guy. He will never be on a roster of mine ever again in the entire existence of fantasy football. Doesn't matter. Dynasty, redraft, best ball, yada, yada, yada. Don't matter. Deebo Samuel, you're a cone. You're dead to me. I'll never have you on a roster again. I hope you take this award, and I hope you shove it up your ass. See you later, Deebo. Fuck you.
All right, next award, we got Luckiest Manager of the Year. Now, in the group chat, we put this out towards basically like avoiding injuries, easiest schedule, points against. Was there any other way that you guys kind of took like Luckiest Manager of the Year?
I don't really know how
I would
vote
have.
this.
I'm glad that there was more context. Did the voters have that context? Because Luckiest, I would have just taken as points against versus for, and then injuries maybe secondary.
I'm not sure the exact contents that
I thought
the
of
audience
health
had.
because you guys like wouldn't be quiet about it all year saying how lucky I was. So that was all that was in my head.
Yeah.
All right.
I voted for you, but I didn't really think too hard about
Yeah,
it.
there's like no real like we just talked about how shitty Waddle and Reed was, but
Yeah.
I'm the lucky.
Well, we'll get into it because the 3 nominees are Casey, Jack, and J-Mo. There wasn't
Casey's
even like a
team
4th name
stunk.
really
Why did-
thrown out.
I didn't think Casey was that. Like I didn't even
Voted for
consider
you.
him.
Put him on
I
there.
feel like
I
he was
don't-
kind of unlucky with his he
Yeah,
dominated all
I
year.
can't think of why he was lucky.
He
at
was
all.
healthy. He was healthy.
He was healthy.
Until-
a lot
until
of
the
this
very
is
end.
going to come down to health. So, Jack, your team was, I think, out of these 3, like the healthiest I could
Shout
find.
out my trainer. Shout out the offseason regimen we went through. We were really
Your
healthy.
first injury that I could find came in week 14 to Austin Eckler. And then
was very
you
unlucky.
lost Hurts and Chuba in the playoffs,
Yeah.
which was unlucky.
Yeah.
But I couldn't even find like Raheem Mostert feeling queasy. Like even like questionables
crazy.
nowhere.
Yeah, it was wild. I didn't even know we had an IR slot until
Yeah. You had no reason to know that we
That
had an
makes
IR
me
spot.
so incredibly fucking furious.
Right.
And I was always saying like I have no holes, and it's because I was never injured. Like if one, and then it happened in the playoffs. Like one
Keenan
guy
was hurt, wasn't he?
huh?
Keenan?
He
Keenan
started
missed-
the season with a little bit of a foot, but I don't think they really.
I don't think he
time.
missed a game.
Yeah, or like I benched him for a week and just played somewhere else in
Maybe
the
maybe
flex.
that's what it was. Like I was kind of just looking at your
Yeah.
starting roster, but like
That's fucked. That might be the most impressive
No,
stat we could find.
I was
if that
gonna
was
say
true.
I'll probably win because no injuries in the weakest division, and obviously the Chase Brown comeback was highly publicized.
The run at the end to
Yeah.
make the playoffs.
Yeah, I
that
mean-
was like I didn't even want to put that as lucky. I was just like cool.
Yeah.
I was like that. I don't know.
But I
like your
think that's
team
what
got
people
real.
No, people
Maybe,
will
maybe,
associate like just
Definitely
because if your
lucky.
team starts whatever 2-6, they think to win that many games late you need some
Right.
luck. But it was really just my team started.
a lot of coins got to land head after that.
exactly,
You know?
exactly.
And also there was, maybe Antonio Gibson getting the goal line, your playoff game against Gut. Like a lot of people at the time, I remember it's like, oh, here's where Gut closes out with like a Ramondre touchdown, and they put in Gibson instead.
Yeah.
So
That was such an electric ending.
it was a good one.
Not electric.
We'll move to JMO. JMO had the 5th fewest points against. He had an injury to Tua, which affected Waddle's value, obviously, but no real injuries after that. There was a Geno Smith game where he left early. Tony P was like questionable all year, but everything outside of that was like all sunshines and rainbows for JMO's team
I
in
feel
terms
like
of injury.
your most unlucky part was your cone behavior from a wideouts, like picking who you had to start each week was like a
Yeah.
nightmare.
I mean, that's not unlucky. It's just like be better. I
Yeah, but
think.
like
I think the other
Reed,
reason
Waddle, Hollywood, or like Xavier Worthy,
Yeah.
it's just
it felt like a lot of the players you had too. Like not only did they not get injured, it feels like there was a lot of players on those teams where like Kelsey was like bad, and then 6 wide receivers
That's
got
fair.
injured, and then like Brock Bowers had Devontae off the there was a lot of like rolling
Reverse
compounding
injuries.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reverse.
That's fair. Charbonnet I had for like weeks 2 and 3. He was clutch.
Yeah. And then finally, there was Casey, who had the 2nd lowest points scored against him. Now, when you are the number 1 scoring team, obviously, you don't have to go up against yourself, so that weighs into it. But Kenneth Walker missed week 2 and 3, missed some time later on the season, but he was able to pick up Zach Charbonnet from a little bit of a managing fumble from JMO. Devonta Smith missed 3 weeks. Kittle missed 2 weeks. David Montgomery, week 16, but like,
significant list of injuries.
yeah.
I feel this is insane that he's even on here.
well,
This is unlucky. Wait,
I don't think
this
those
Luckiest.
injuries.
Yeah, I'm
this is
thinking
lucky.
unlucky.
I don't think those when we get to unlucky players, we'll get to an injury report. That is like relatively healthy. A lot of teams, and Casey's kind of included in this, outside of David Montgomery, like had no like season-ending injuries in the beginning half or like any time in the season. So
He was unlucky in the playoffs.
Right,
So, like
right.
it crushed.
That's why I don't think he'll win. I would imagine I'm gonna.
There's
win
no
too.
way. There will be like 10% of the votes to Casey just because of like content, but that's it.
right. With 62.6% of the vote, the winner for luckiest manager of the year is Jack Settleman.
Wow.
Hey, shout out the Jack Riders who know we create our own luck, and all you haters, 62% of you, just know it ain't luck, it's skill.
I mean, sometimes it'd be better to be lucky than good,
Hey,
right?
That too.
All right, congrats on your award.
Big.
Let's move to the other side of the ball here. Unluckiest manager of the year. The nominees were myself, Nick, Adam, and Sexy. And basically this came down to, at least for me, who had the biggest hospital bill here. So going over injuries real quick. I'll start with myself. Jordan Love, weeks 2-3. Nico Collins for 3 weeks. Rashee Rice from week 5 to the rest of the season. Chris Olave, week 7 to the rest of the season. Derek Carr, 3 weeks. Jordan Mason, 2 weeks. Traded for Josh Downs, immediately hurt. Brock Purdy must-win game, out. Nick, T. Higgins for 5 weeks. A.J. Brown for 3 weeks. Cooper Kupp for 4 weeks. Zach Moss, week 9 and on. He was kind of a dud at that point, but still, we'll count it. Anthony Richardson with kind of the ghost bench injury, whatever you want to call that. Just kind of unlucky, maybe.
Go.
George Pickens, week 14, but kind of already eliminated. And then you straight up got Tyler Batty killed. So that was your doing. Adam, biggest unluckiest thing or most unlucky thing, would have to be Christian McCaffrey. That whole fucking situation, awful. Chris Godwin, weeks 8 and on. David Njoku missed the beginning part of the year. Deshaun Watson obviously tore his shit week 7. Yep. I mean, like, wasn't doing that well. Only 12 points per game. But like Watson
fucking sucks.
He fucking sucked. But at the same time, like, you went from that was your only quarterback to like having no one at that point. Mike Evans for 3 weeks. Alexander Madison for 3 weeks. So Adam was very like top heavy in terms of injuries, but they were big ones. And then finally, Sexy, again, top heavy. Dak ended the season in week 9. Tua missed 4 games to start the year. Brian Robinson, 3 games. Malik Neighbors, 2 games early on. So a lot of, it feels like a lot of the injuries piled on like half the league.
I just want to say, I don't think Adam was unlucky. I think draft McCaffrey, you knew what that situation was. And
I don't
so
think you
many
did,
people
though.
gave him outs, and he never took them. Casey, I think,
That's
offered
fair.
Casey offered him like David Montgomery and
He offered
like,
him insane trade for C-Mac, I remember.
And Matt
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say he was that unlucky.
The C-Mac felt unlucky. It's easy to look
Really?
back.
Yeah.
Dude,
He was
everything
slated
leading up
to
the
play
season
week
was
1
fine.
and
I was
hour
the one
before
who said
kickoff.
I didn't like it from day one. That's why I picked me.
I
But,
think
like,
it's a little
what was-
unlucky that he got hurt again. Like that's
No, but that's the type of injury you re-injure. Like
That I'm fine with because by the time he gets back, I wasn't really expecting him to be like C-Mac level C-Mac.
Right.
I think week 1 was crazy out of nowhere. Everything leading up to that was like,
but we
oh,
knew
he
that
was
before the draft.
No, we did not.
We didn't.
if
Nothing
we knew
about
he
week
wouldn't have
1.
been drafted in the first round.
No.
We knew nothing about week
first
1.
sketchy report came out before we drafted.
It was in
No, I don't think it did.
It was like summer, but he was like clear to go. He was like
Oh,
fine
yeah,
by
yeah,
but
yeah,
week
yeah.
1. We weren't like, oh, he's not playing week 1. I'm still drafting.
Jordan Mason
Right, the
got in
night
trouble with the media because
Yeah.
he was the one who leaked that the
that's
49ers internally
I'm not
knew
saying we didn't
that
know
he
he
was
was
hurt.
playing week 1, but there was weird reporting.
There was a
on it.
little bit of, but that's why he fell from like the 101, 102 to 109. But I agree. Like, that is what it is. Chris Godwin was a tough one to bite, though, because he was so
Godwin
good.
I think
Even-
Sexy's. I felt like Sexy was the unluckiest, just because 2 quarterbacks is tough, and he had CD, right, so that impacted when
CD
Dak
was
got-
actually like really good
was,
even
he
with
was.
Cooper Rush.
but
like,
still that impacts,
sure.
and then
His started to pile on.
Yeah.
I'd go with Nick just because I think he had like the best roster, could have made a run and didn't because of strictly injuries.
Yeah. I think early on, I got hit so. The shitty part about most of my injuries were like they all happened really early on.
Yeah.
So there's no bye weeks. So it was like I had to eat all the weeks. And then by the time my players got back, it's like, oh, they're also on a bye now. So, and I had to drop a lot of guys early on because all the injuries happened at the same time for me. So there was like 4 dudes that I needed to put on the IR.
I remember
So,
that.
so it was like the first 6 weeks was just like, I'm starting absolute fucking cones left and right.
All right. So with 54.9% of the vote,
Jesus.
the unluckiest player of the year goes to Nick.
Big.
Awesome.
Kyle
Sick.
Pitts, whoa.
Dub title to hold.
Yeah.
I wish I got like extra points for that.
I feel like there's some like moral victory there.
does.
No.
Big buy low heading into next year.
If it helps, if it were to be like now you're not going to be unlucky next year, cool. But I'm going to end up being unlucky.
Hey,
next year.
I'll be honest. I wanted that award. I wanted some sympathy from the crowd for
You
sure.
can have it.
You're
Thanks.
gonna get no sympathy, but you are gonna win an award.
Your trades
I
were
can guarantee
Your
that.
trades were too loud.
All right, let's get into it. Let's go to the worst trade of the year. The nominees are the Josh Allen trade.
Dub.
Notoriously, any
I
player
hate
that
that
was
he always caveats it.
No. I'm just saying any player that was thrown in like Josh Palmer, I kind of just cut them out of the trade if they legitimately had no effect.
Yeah.
So it's Josh Allen and Chuba Hubbard for Derek Carr, Chris Olave, Jordan Mason.
Dub trade.
We'll get into some stats later. Another one,
He did
Jonnu
this whole
Smith.
video just to make stats for that.
Yeah.
He's like, actually, it wasn't as bad. as he
Jonnu
would've
Smith for Mike Gesicki. That was a bad one.
thought. Okay.
And then finally, Cooper Kupp for Jackson Smith and Jigba, Cedric Tillman, DeAndre Hopkins, and Taysom Hill. So
Which way is that bad? On the Cup side?
for Cooper Kupp. So
There's nothing even close compared to this.
Yeah.
right,
Like,
but
this might be 100-0 vote.
It was also so well known in content that I can't imagine it's less
And,
than like
and
90.
it also just kept getting worse as the season.
it did. So when we first made the trade, we were playing against each other in week 3. Josh Allen had a 30-point week against me. Wasn't great. Then went on to have a 7-point week, a 14-point week. And then after that, never dipped below 20 until week 16. And also had a 51-point game that fucking broke fantasy football. So kind of carried you to the playoffs. And the part that I hate the most, and I know I've said this before, but it's throwing in Chuba Hubbard instead of Ty Chandler. We were going back and forth. You wanted some pieces that I would drop in the trade. And you said, how about Ty Chandler? And at the time, Ty Chandler was getting like 7 or 8 carries behind Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is like a fragile old dude. I'm like, no, I'm not giving up Ty Chandler. Chuba Hubbard sucks, though. Like, he's droppable.
That was 100% on you then.
Yeah.
100%.
But I mean, the Panthers at the start of the season were like losing 40 to like 10.
They were the worst team
No.
in the history of the NFL.
And I went back. I was we'll have clips of the Josh Allen trade in real time. Going back, like, people were like, when they were reviewing the trade in the league, were like, Josh Palmer droppable, Chuba Hubbard droppable. That's not what this is about.
100%.
You know?
Everyone thought you'd slaughter me in the deal.
Yeah. It was the most 180 turn of a trade I
Of
think
all
I've
time.
ever seen. So, not that anyone cares, but Jonnu Smith for that tight end
Get
trade.
to the results.
I just want to throw it out there. Jonnu Smith was tight end 1 after that trade. Mike
he was
Gesicki-
goated.
That's fair.
It's just
tight
not
end
as
34.
impactful. Like
Right. No, it's definitely not
short
as memorable.
time didn't matter.
And then the Cooper Kupp trade, after it was made, Cooper Kupp was the wide receiver 31. Meanwhile, Jackson Smith and Jigba was wide receiver 11. But yeah, with about 85% of the vote, Josh Allen was the voted trade of all time. You wanted Josh Allen for Derek Carr and a trash wide receiver.
No, originally
trash
it
wide
was
receiver?
it
It
was
was a trash-
Carr, Olave, and Mason.
No. I countered with that
Oh.
because you
It was
started
Carr,
off super
Keenan,
low.
and Mason.
Right, trash receiver
Right.
Keenan.
And then you said I would do it with Olave.
I said you would need to make it Olave for me to think about it.
Right.
Carr, Olave, Mason.
Do you
That
ever-
was the original offer. That's the original counter.
Okay, do you prefer Carr, Olave, Mason, or Carr and Mark?
Carr, Olave, Mason
That's what you prefer.
for Allen.
That is what you proposed.
That is what I proposed.
And I accepted, and then you said I don't want it.
because I still don't really know if I want it.
So do you want it?
Why'd you take us on this ride again?
Because it's
Now we're just
enticing.
doing what
It's
we
good.
did on camera.
But here's the thing. Like, I would not be shocked if any moment we wake up and Derek Carr is once again one of the worst quarterbacks in the
And
league.
Josh
that's
Allen
who he is.
hurdles 247-pound linebackers on the daily. He could get hurt on Tuesday.
Well, anybody,
All
yeah,
of these-
everybody could get hurt.
All of these are, and
It's not about getting hurt. Derek Carr just wake up and suck again. All right, so
Just
send
Tony,
the
just
trade.
do it.
Send the
Before-
trade.
Send the trade if you
He
want to do it.
changes
Send the
his
trade.
Like, your team is going to fucking suck if you make that trade.
No, it's not. Don't listen to him.
This deal is probably a good deal for me in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, you're like realizing that.
But
by
I,
now.
but I might not have 2 weeks.
You might not. Here's the thing. If you send it, I will probably take it. So now in this game of chicken,
Really?
you're the one not doing it.
Can I at least get the bench guys?
Like who I would cut? I'd probably cut Jaleel, and I'd probably cut someone I just picked, Josh Palmer.
I'm gonna propose an offer. Give me like
Ty.
No, I kind
who's
of.
Ty?
I would not cut Ty Chandler.
I would go like Chuba and Palmer.
I'd probably cut ties with Chuba and Palmer. Damn, you actually said.
Oh, he said it. Oh,
Fuck.
shit.
Oh, the
All
exact
right,
opposite?
Tony.
Derek Carr is pretty ass. Derek Carr is a fraud.
I told you.
No, I'm
Oh,
proud of you.
dude, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a fucking pussy.
Oh my god.
I'm a pussy, bro.
Tony.
Damn. Oh well, you have Josh Allen.
Let's go. The reason he didn't do email collections because he could only create so many burners to vote on someone else being the worst. Trade.
I just had to get that off my record. That one, I'm just gonna straight up eat. Like
Yeah.
that was just bad fucking trade.
Hey,
you know?
at least I didn't win it all because then it would have been probably a clean sweep.
Yeah, it would have been frustrating for sure. So moving on, let's go once again the other side. The best trade of the year. We preface this by saying the trade that was most even for both sides helped both managers out, and the nominees. You what?
I think I was all 3 of these.
You were all three. Yeah, you were involved. In
I
all
just
three
be making
trades.
fair fucking trades.
So your first one, the first nominee was you and Nate, George Pickens for Rashad White.
Great trade for both sides.
White was averaging 13.3 points, George Pickens 12.6. You also needed a wide receiver after a bunch of injuries. Nate needed a running back. Second nominee, A-Rich and Josh Jacobs for Jared Goff and Breece Hall. If you combined all the points that both players scored on each side, there was only a 3.7 point difference each week.
Jacobs was so much better than Hall. Goff was so much better than Richardson.
Yeah, pretty much. And then this one actually, was thrown out a couple times by people in the league, but when I went back and did the math, it was very not fair, but it was Kyron Williams for Cooper Kupp and Sam Darnold. So after the trade was made, Sam Darnold was the quarterback 4, Cooper Kupp was the wide receiver 4, meanwhile Kyron Williams was RB9. So Kyron Williams was good in his own respect, but like Darnold and Kupp kind of took off afterwards.
Well, Cup was terrible the last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he had
was
some
really good.
great weeks.
Yeah, right away.
Right
for that,
away.
sure.
So
every time I did a trade, I remember like whoever I traded for or got on my team was like playing the next primetime game. And I remember trading Cooper Kupp away, and I think he scored like 5 seconds later. And Kyron, it was like the first game Kyron didn't score all season. It was like that game.
I remember that. Actually,
loaded.
as soon as you got Kyron, he stopped his touchdown streak and just went on a touchdown protest.
Yeah, but that trade again though, that was one where it was just like I needed a running back. I had 3 QBs, 5 wide receivers, so I wasn't even really trying to win that trade, but whatever. Get to the fucking results.
With 49% of the vote, best trade of the year was Kyron Williams for Sam Darnold and Cooper Kupp. Another decently sized trade went down between Nick and Joe. Joe acquires Cooper Kupp and Sam Darnold in exchange for Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. So, secures the handcuff there. What were your guys' thoughts on that trade?
At first, I didn't mind it, but thinking about it this morning, I'm worried for Joe's running backs. I saw he's got Rico and Kareem.
Yeah, it's not like
when Pacheco's back, Kareem's a donut.
for sure. But
And he's supposed to be back next week. We were talking about this in Austin.
And Rico's like,
He's an actual donut.
yeah, I'm a little worried. I mean, Cooper Kupp obviously has literal wide receiver 1 upside, but like that's just taking a swing. You should take a swing on Cooper Kupp if you are in a position to take on some risk. Joe isn't.
I think he's probably in a fuck it, we ball mentality, though.
I mean,
where-
Sam Darnold gives him some stability, so that can't,
Sam
like,
Darnold
not be
feels like
talked
a
about,
big
but
upgrade over Daniel Jones.
I would have
Yeah.
said the Goff one, sure.
I thought
Me
the
too.
Goff one too. That one also felt the most like on content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Cooper Kupp one felt like it kind of went under the radar.
I didn't even know
That,
Tyron
like,
was
actually
traded
shocks
this
me.
year. Who he was on your team down the year?
I think if just like name value, it looks fair because maybe if you see
Yeah.
A-Rich, you're like, oh, you got swindled if you pick
Right,
up
right,
A-Rich, right?
Yes.
That's fair.
I don't know. Like, I guess it's just not going to the content like I thought it would.
I just think gut, like he thought that, the A-Rich trade was so unfair because you had Joe Flacco on the roster, and that was just such a dynamite
That was
play.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was really fun to play.
You got the Colts quarterback stack.
gonna
Whatever
do it again
what
next year.
everyone's going for these days. All right, let's go to the best draft pick of the year. Nominees, we got Saquon Barkley, 28th overall, 304. We have Derrick Henry, 39th overall, 403. Jamar Chase, 17th overall, 205. And Brock Bowers, 163rd overall, 1407. So you had Brock Bowers finish as the tight end 1 in all of fantasy this year. Jamar Chase, the second most common player on ESPN championship rosters behind Jahmyr Gibbs, and the number 3 overall player, including quarterbacks. Derrick Henry, for the regular season of fantasy, was the RB2, and Saquon Barkley, the RB1 in those weeks. And there was also that kind of viral tweet from Hayden Winks that Saquon Barkley on underdog platforms was on 50% of first and second seeded teams. So
Yeah.
great picks all around.
I think I leaned Saquon, but
Like,
Bowers was
is
like
the
my-
best value, but like I still like tight end at the end of the day. I'm like, it's not gonna carry you.
But it was like last. I mean,
And it was
Bowers,
like tight end 1. Like it
but
wasn't
Bowers
like
was there though.
Yeah,
it was
wasn't like-
good.
It was good. I mean, it was better than Sam Laporta's tight end 1 season last year. I guess depending on what platform or what
What was
scoring
the
settings
point
you had.
differential between
Bowers'
Jamar and
floor
Saquon?
was
Do you
like-
know? How many?
About
fantasy-
100 points at the end of the year.
Right.
Chase
had
over
about
Saquon.
100.
Chase over Saquon.
Yeah.
Saquon scored 300 fantasy points. Chase scored 400.
That's why I kind of lean
400.
Yeah.
400.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of lean Chase over. You made it to the
Brock
finals,
Bowers.
right? You beat me how many times this year? How many times you beat me this year? You and Jalen Waddle got a big old goose egg. I think Chase probably won people more championships, so I think
Yeah.
he'll get picked. But I would say Bowers was the best selection.
I'm gonna say Saquon won this.
I mean, Saquon in round 3, like middle round 3, feels like a
But
great
that was in
value.
a
I
super
guess-
flex. Like for
Sure.
most people, he was definitely going the second.
I guess so, yeah. But like people weren't drafting quarterbacks that high. Like Saquon in
Right.
our league went as RB5, you know. Chase went as wide receiver 6, so maybe that's better value. But people were like
There were
drafting wide
5
receivers.
wide receivers that had a Chase. What
I
were we
remember- I-
doing?
I took
Bro,
AJ
Burrow's
Brown.
wrist.
It was Burrow's wrist, and Chase was still holding out. I think
Yeah.
at the time we
Yeah.
were drafting.
Saquon Barkley, infamously on the all fade list of BDG's draft guide.
Do it
Also,
again.
Brock Bowers was there too.
Jesus.
Not a great look,
I guess
but
that explains
we'll
why
be
you guys weren't in the championship because
Thought
you
that
were
was a
all
funny
using the
caveat.
same draft guide on draft day.
I mean Derrick Henry, I feel like in the 4th round, RB10 was also a smash pick, but The only, I guess, issue was that it was like none of the running backs drafted ahead of him outside of Breece Hall ended up being like that bad.
I think this vote will be like the lowest percent of what the winner. Like, there's not. I mean,
There's
we'll
not going to be a runaway. Let's pull it up.
I might swerve in that corner. Whoa.
Okay. So the winning draft pick had 44% of the vote. Next highest was 34%. But the winner with 44% is Brock Bowers. Tight end 1
go.
on the
Staying
year.
sharp.
Congratulations, JMO.
Shout out to Adam. I remember talking that strategy through in the final 2 rounds. Smoochies.
I feel like you had it planned for a long time that you like wanted Bowers
Yeah.
late. I remember you were
I
super
really liked
excited and it
him
felt random.
in best ball, like an underdog, but I also liked, I don't know, and I ended up with both in our leagues.
That honestly should increase Kyle Pitts' cone of the year because the only reason he went that late was because of Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. I think a lot of people had like PTSD from
Fully.
Kyle Pitts for sure.
Fully.
But
Shout out KP.
yeah.
The GOAT.
Let go.
The GOAT.
He should retire.
He should go to
call it
Baltimore
quits.
as your tight end 3.
We have Charlie Kohler.
4.
He went. Yeah.
It's
He,
fine.
yeah.
Don't care. Just get him off the roster.
All right, let's kick it off to the other side. Worst draft pick of the year. Nominations are Marvin Harrison Jr., 22nd overall, 210, drafted as wide receiver 9. Tyreek Hill at the 111, drafted as wide receiver 2. Anthony Richardson, drafted 5th overall, 105, QB5. And Christian McCaffrey, drafted 10th overall, 110, RB2. So, I mean, Christian McCaffrey, again, feels really unlucky, but it's the, like, bamboozle of the year, you know? Like, it was the ultimate rug pull. Just
I think C-Max,
ruined
who
teams.
I voted for him or Tyreek.
Tyreek was bad. On the year, he finished as wide receiver 18. Towards the end of the year, he started to save his season, but even on a points per game basis, wide receiver 31. Just disappointing from a dude who was on pace for 2K last year to not even hit 1K this year. So
Doesn't even want to be on the Dolphins.
doesn't even, yeah, he had such a bad year.
That was insane.
He might call it quits over Kyle Pitts. Marvin Harrison, wide receiver 34, weeks 1 through 17, wide receiver 43 on a points per game basis.
I just feel like people didn't have enough like early stock in him in like home leagues for him to
That's fair.
get a big vote here.
Yeah. He went really high in this draft. You had the number 3 slot in our draft, so you got him on the way back. And in the short turnaround, there were 2 wide receivers drafted after that, Nico Collins and Drake London. So not great moves, but you know, with the 210, you essentially got yourself last year's Tyler Lockett, 2022
Beast.
Allen Lazard,
Oh, Lockett's a legend.
2021 Kendrick
Who
Bourne.
drafted Tyler Lockett?
Let's see. That's special.
And then obviously we know how bad A-Rich has been on a points per game basis, tied for quarterback 17 with Geno, only averaging 15.9. And if
You're
you
rich at 5. I feel like that's got to get some votes.
Initially, my reaction on Marvin was like, "Come on, is that really that bad?" But the other 3, there were other factors. Like Marv just didn't really hit like what I expected him to do. So I could see an argument. Like Tyreek Tua gets hurt, that completely threw him off. A-Rich
CMC.
gets hurt, CMC gets hurt.
Yeah.
So I like. There's definitely worse picks than
Yeah.
just injury luck to me.
Sure. But the winner with a resounding 64.4% of the vote, Anthony Richardson,
Really?
105. Do you want to get Nate in here?
It's just
Maybe
so
he can explain
early.
himself a little bit.
Nate.
I liked his draft because he went Richardson and Daniels. I mean, I felt like Richardson sucked, but he sucked last year, and he was still scoring fantasy points.
His problem was he had really bad floor games this year along
Yeah.
with it, and then the seeding and then the injuries. Like it was a much sloppier year this year.
Yeah.
Congrats, buddy. You won
Thanks.
yourself an award.
Appreciate it.
Worst
Do you
draft
know
pick
what
of the
award?
year.
I got to thank Nick for taking him off my hands to kind of lessen the blow a little bit. But yeah, the super flex couldn't wrap my head around it this
Did
year.
you also trade at it? Did you have the number 5 pick or you trade into it?
We actually traded picks too.
I traded back from 5 to 8 because I did not want to be forced to take Anthony Richardson there.
And then you were like,
You
I
traded for him
regret it.
anyway.
I want him so bad.
I mean,
Said I took Brees Hall.
Kind of made up for it for taking Jaden in the second. too.
oh, 100%.
But, yeah.
He honestly could have been in the nominations for best pick. So
Yeah.
definitely made up for it. And you were able to switch him for Jared Goff, who ended
Yeah.
up as like top 5 quarterback. So
Yeah, I think I was just going first year doing super flex. I was going for like high upside quarterback first round, and like I mean,
You're not
if he
first
plays
in
like
it.
those 4 games in his rookie year, like
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
not talking about this, but clearly
sure.
he's just
Yeah,
a,
like he
he's
had
just
some
a bum.
really big
He's just a
games,
bum.
but it was just such a fucking sloppy year in Indy.
all right.
What are you gonna do?
Whoa.
Congratulations. You'll
Back
get
to
your
work.
award in the
Congrats,
mail.
We'll see if I'm back for Wolt Manager too.
I also I put another nominee on there that I understand why it didn't get onto the list, but I had Lamar Jackson because JL took
worst? Oh, or
as
best.
Oh, sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
we're way past the best, huh?
I was gonna put myself for worse. I took Hurts over Lamar.
Yeah, but like
I just meant
Hurts wasn't like a disaster though.
Lamar. I mean,
Like
JL
these
took
dudes
Lamar at
felt
2.
like disasters.
Yeah, they were disasters. JL took Lamar at 2, but I feel like that was a really unpopular pick at the time. Looking back, like they're all in the same tier, but like no one was taking Lamar over Hurts.
Yeah.
At that
Or
time,
even like maybe Mahomes.
Mahomes too. Yeah. So and Lamar was quite literally, 75% of the reason he did what. If you guys have any teams where you had Lamar this year, it was pretty much like auto semifinals, if not championship in fantasy.
Oh, so Lamar went 2 and then Hurts?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
and then so it was Allen.
Lamar.
Hurts,
Okay. So
Mahomes.
I was happy that he took Lamar. I thought with Henry, Lamar wouldn't
Right.
get as many touchdowns. The reason why I say Lamar was so valuable is because I think
You put up a lot
you
of
then-
fucking 40-point games.
but then you started to stack him, and you got like a Zay who was going later. You could even fall into Bateman. I mean, Bate wasn't really played a ton in our leagues, but Andrews probably would have been played more. Not for our league specifically, but in general, you got a lot of solid fantasy pieces later.
Gut, welcome on the show. Almost won best pick of the year.
Yeah.
Instead,
Some
you
are
just-
saying a huge
Said
snub.
you just awoke.
Yeah,
but
you
you-
Some are saying
snubbed?
I got
Are you
snubbed
snubbed?
for sure.
I mean, I think Jamar, who
Like-
scores 100 more points than Saquon.
Jamar
is
almost
surprised.
outscored Lamar.
Right.
Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah.
Probably.
And he just went as a wide receiver 6, and I got the most flack out of any person to ever exist for taking Jamar Chase.
It's fun. Chase and Burrow were overall player 3 and 4 in our league this year.
Yeah. And I got shafted at the draft.
Yeah, for sure.
But, it is what it is.
All right.
Next year, we'll also get shafted for it just because the environment we're in. But
So we're going to move on to waiver claims here. We're going to start with the best. You have a nominee this year, which is Tyrone Tracy. You picked him up for 2 fab, 1% of our annual budget, one of the best pickups of the year. There's also Bucky Irving, picked up by JL.
Week 1.
After week 1, went for 39 fab dollars, 19.5%. And finally, Kareem Hunt, 15 fab dollars, 7.5% of a weekly budget. Kareem Hunt was picked up after week 2, and for about the next month and a half was the RB11. It was especially sharp because people were spending big fab dollars on other Chiefs running backs that we won't mention for another 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then also came through with 2 Monday Night Miracles for Joe in his only wins of the year.
Was Jonnu a nominee?
No, he wasn't. It would have
He
been
was
a good
free
one.
agent, right?
The problem with Jonnu and Jawan Jennings were guys that also were like considered. The only problem is they were like Jawan was like picked up by Nick, was good, dropped, picked up by Nate, was good.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like does it count for both? Same with Johnny was picked up and dropped by a bunch of different teams to where it kind of felt weird not just taking a dude who was picked up and like rode.
Kareem Hunt will have his time in this award show, but this has got to be Bucky to the fucking moon.
I don't know. Tracy for 2 versus Bucky for 40.
Some people might have went with the value.
I don't know. I think it's Bucky too, despite me having like a piece in this. Like I think Bucky was just like gave him the league.
I mean, Bucky
Like,
was definitely
it put his
him.
team over the top.
Yeah.
Like I think if he didn't have Bucky, his team would have looked a lot different. Where like you could plug Bucky in, and he was guaranteed 15 points, damn near.
Yeah. So after picking him up week 2, he was the RB 13 from week 2 on.
I mean,
From-
that's the full fucking. You just picked up an RB1 for the whole
Sure.
season.
But he was also the RB 9 from week 6 on, and then week 12 on, he was the RB 4, 18.7 points per game.
Close.
Yeah.
Goated.
This is one where if you were in a fantasy league, it's like a question.
Right. Not no dynasty nerds looking at Tyrone Tracy for the valuable
1% of
$2.
people
Couldn't
watching this
imagine being
aren't in a
Boz looking at
fantasy
Tyrone
league.
0,
Tracy.
which is why it's going to be all Bucky.
It's gonna be Bucky.
Actually, is there anyone out there watching right now that actually doesn't play fantasy that just watches this? I'm really curious.
They have no idea what we're talking about.
Email the fantasy football show at theringer.com.
All right. So with 69.3% of the vote, Bucky Irving
Nice.
is the pickup of the year. Congrats to JL. Helped him on a road to a championship. And we're now going to bring out JL to accept his award.
Bucky Irving went for $39.
I dropped Bucky Irving early in the week to pick up Samaje Perine for Thursday night's game. In the thought that I could drop him later down the road and pick back up Bucky Irving, it was locked.
Yeah.
And now Bucky Irving's going on waivers.
Yeah.
Not on my team.
Not a great move.
What up, baby boys? It's your champion, JL from the Cavs of Destiny. $5,000 richer. Let's go. Best waiver claim of the year. Bucky swirling. Oh, let's go. I'm a little bit surprised by this one, to be honest. I thought maybe I'd bring home worst waiver claim of the year with the Isaiah Likely one. The 112 on Isaiah Likely. I thought that might sink my ship, but no, sir. We got Bucky swerving, $39. He got me like 25 points in the championship. Bucky. Bro, he was dropping like 20 points a game. All the 0 RB bros are like, yeah, he was. Let's go, Bucky. The GOAT. The biggest Cavs of the year. Bucky swerving. Let's go. Bucky, for real though, you a real one, bro. You are in my good graces for life. I am a Bucky Irving fan for the rest of my goddamn life. This man just won me $5,000.
That was a good one because it was just steady, but like you got him week 1, so you had him for the whole year. It wasn't like a big running back pickup in like week 10 that like propelled you, but
Right.
you know, you were just like stayed sipping, steady buzz all year.
All right. And then at the end, you were just hammered, winning championships. All right. Let's flip to the other side. Let's go to the worst waiver claim of the
You
year.
gonna win this too?
Thank God.
You talking to me or him?
No,
About
JL.
Yeah.
Oh.
He should, but I'm a little nervous my Carson Steele pickup might take the cake.
Really?
So let's get into it.
I
Nominees.
think all these are horrendous.
Carson Steele by you. Audric Estimé by Nate for $62 fab dollars.
I need to chime in. I got fucking grilled for not picking him up.
That's fair. You did.
I also would like to say my process was sound. I was like, I need a Chiefs running back. I just picked. If I had picked up Kareem Hunt for 55
Right,
instead of Carson
different.
Steele, shit would be
It's different.
nice. It'd be nice.
Was he even on the team at that point?
No.
okay.
Well, no. He was just signed to the practice squad.
Got it.
So, I mean, Carson Steele, the worst part, I think, is in your weekly fantasy video for waivers, you were telling everyone to not pick up Carson Steele because he sucks. And then you
Right.
just got an itchy trigger finger and pulled 55 out.
Right. I was giving them advice that they should take. But
Right.
then I was like, I need to make a splash because I need some upside here.
All right. And then we also have Isaiah Likely, picked up by JL for $112 fab dollars.
That set
after
the
week
tone
one.
for the
Come
season.
on.
Yeah, no, it should be him.
That's gotta be the woe.
And then a lot of people didn't know what to put here, so I just summed it up as week 5 Tony, who picked up Justice Hill, Trey Tucker, and Tutu Atwell for $114 in week 5.
Go.
So
I think I voted for that.
Justice was fine, though.
insane.
So
Like, was he?
I did end up starting Tutu, who scored me 11 fantasy points and got me the win
We're back.
over
How are you
Nick
going to say an 11-point player got you a win?
because I had literally no one else. I needed someone to
Bro
score
was
11.
spending $10 a point. He was like, that was worth it.
I mean, look, it was not a good week. Every single player I picked up from that week was not on my team week 6. So they were dropped.
I was going to say,
the
I
week
remember
after.
you spending a lot on Hill and then dropping him immediately.
Yeah.
Did Derek get hurt? Why did you pick him?
Because my entire team got
He
hurt.
just
I
came
needed,
off of one of those like 5-catch games randomly.
Yeah. Isaiah Likely, after his giant week 1 performance, he was picked up by JL, and then since then was tight end 27, and was only played in JL's lineup twice. So it didn't even want to use Isaiah Likely. But
And
He
when
didn't
he
need
played,
to.
what did he score?
so week 5 he got JL 6 points. Week 7 he got JL 6 points.
6 ain't bad for a tight end in this day and age.
I guess not.
Like tight ends this year, like
Kyle
holy
Pitts could
fuck.
I mean, you guys want to talk about points per dollar? Someone do the
Yeah.
math there.
That's
like,
what I mean. It's 10 points per dollar.
It's
Yeah.
got to be likely.
I mean,
That
$10 per
price.
point. I think it's likely.
10
I
points per
think,
dollar.
I think
you're
it is
living.
too, but I kind of feel like Carson Steele probably got a lot of play here.
I feel like
Carson Steele got a
I
lot
feel
of
like
flack.
it's bullshit that the audience just associates JL winning with him not making the worst move. I think that's by far the worst use of cap.
Let's see it.
It was early too, you know. It was like
Yeah.
really.
Same week he had the best and worst pick.
So
Literally,
with
yeah.
43.7% of the vote, the worst waiver claim of the year was week 5 Tony with the 3 players for
That's fair,
$114.
that's fair.
Yeah,
That's the
it's-
most competitive
What was the
category.
I think
we've
Trey
had.
Tucker really hammered it home for you.
Right, so I guess the biggest spend this week was myself getting Tutu Atwell for $38. So I got Justice Hill for $38.
So, you had him on 38 with a different person
So
being
hold on.
dropped.
We're at what? $76 so far?
Yeah,
There you
Through
go.
two
Good, man.
guys?
This is
Times
your
two.
week.
38%
Woo!
essentially.
This
of
is your
the
week,
fab.
Queen.
Oh my god!
Trey Tucker,
Dude, that was the one-
unsuccessful 38.
But that means there was a
That was
successful at somewhere for 38.
That was
And
the one.
also
That was the
Trey
one.
Tucker,
That was,
baby.
that was the one I saw initially. I'm like, a kid from my high school got 38. I didn't realize you also had 2 other 38s too.
All right, so Trey
okay.
Tucker
The
Next highest
closer
bidder was
was
$1.
Jesus, overspend
So
tracker.
you could have spent $5.
I could have
this
spent $5 this
got
week
the
and
same,
been
dude.
so happy with the guys.
I do
picked
love
up.
the Trey Tucker pickup.
It's a good.
I
my
no, I actually
God.
wanted. I think I had
playing all these
Tucker-
guys that you're picking up against.
The one thing is though, like if I look at, like if I look, you spent 38 on Tutu and Trey, right? I think the big difference for me is with Trey Tucker's situation with Devontae Adams possibly out of town.
That's a
like,
long term.
Trey Tucker might actually be a sneaky long-term play.
Nah,
No,
he definitely
Tutu,
could be.
Tutu, I don't know that that's really a realistic thing to expect.
Tucker wasn't good. The next highest was Isaiah Likely with 35% of the vote. Audric Estime basically got nothing, and then Carson Steele was. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a memorable waiver wire show when we're on here and we're like, I'm just like burning fab after fab after fab. So yeah, I mean, again, this kind of goes back to the Madden cover. Like I think we voted Peyton Hillis on that one, but I'll let it go. You know, I'll take my award and put it on the trophy
Did we
case.
do worst manager?
Not yet.
Oh boy. I feel like if you rack up a lot of worse, you're probably in the lead for that.
Before we get to the managers, let's do paper champion of the year. So for those of you that don't know what a paper champ is, for me, it basically means like the dude with the scariest lineup, but performance-wise kind of underwhelms. Like, is that a good summary of like paper champ?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
to be clear, that's not like when you didn't explain paper champ, I would have thought like Casey, like he was the champ on paper all year. But
I think, right?
yeah,
Okay.
I think
but that
there's-
wouldn't be as much what you were describing. It's where like you look at the roster, you're like I'm screwed, but you never actually end up being.
Wait, sorry, one more.
You should reverse that. You should look at it as like I have a good team, but
No,
my
I was
team's,
saying
like,
if I'm
underperforming.
facing.
Yeah.
If I were facing someone, I'm like, oh, I have
Yeah.
no chance this week.
Yeah.
But constantly that team.
Totally. So the three nominees were Nick, Casey, and J-Mo. I feel like in the
I'm surprised Sexy didn't get on here, honestly.
His team
I think
got 2 wins.
yeah, I think towards the end of the year, people were
We
kind of
started
looking at
Cooper
Sexy's
Rush.
team.
You know whose
a
team
little
I'm
limp.
surprised isn't on there? I felt like Mott's team was by the end of the season when I had to beat him to get in, I was like, I don't really have a chance.
He would have been a scary for sure.
I think that's fair. I do think, though, beginning of the season, we were doubting Andrew's team a lot. Like, I
Yeah.
remember the first couple power rankings that Sexy made, like, he was stuffing Andrew at the bottom. So, you know, I think from the beginning, like, your team, like, always looked good, wasn't healthy, started performing well, but was kind of like too late at that point. You were almost like the Bengals this year, where it was like if
100%.
you were in
We're
playoffs,
exactly
we'd be
the
scared of you, but like you fucked around.
I
too
literally
early.
like got so good. The last like 6 weeks, my team was like didn't miss a fucking beat. But yeah, it was way too.
I'm
late.
shocked J-Mo's on there. Like I feel like J-Mo was good. Like I feel like
Yeah.
he was started like what 6-0 or whatever. Like
Well, I
and
think
made
part
the
of it-
playoffs.
Well, I
like,
guess that's part of it.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
he started strong and then he still had that same team and they didn't.
I guess.
Yeah, I think people have different like interpretations based on like what point of the season.
Yeah, that's
For
fair.
me, like
That's fair.
I voted for you because like Casey and J-Mo falling short is just kind of like fantasy football. Like they were legitimate
Yeah.
contenders. I feel like you were like
Nick was
like
the
we got to
Bengals.
remember the team that could have been, you know?
Yeah, it's sad. It's so, yeah, I think Casey probably should have won. I think I'm gonna end up.
All right. Well, with 40, this was the closest race for sure. It was pretty split evenly, but 42.6% of the vote. The paper champion of the year is Casey. Is he still here?
Cased out.
He's on meeting.
Okay, never mind.
No, he's the best.
Yeah, I can take the award for him. No, that one's simple. Like you score the most points, you get hurt, you lose.
All right, so we'll move on to the best and worst managers of the year.
It's like best and lead supporting actress and actor. Right now.
Yeah.
These are the big ones.
This is the highlight of the Oscars that we got going on here. So, best manager of the year. Nominees are JL, obviously, won the championship. Second in points scored. Averaged 177.5 during the playoffs. Started 0-3, but stayed the course, believed in the team. Traded Tony P and Worthy for Kelsey and Ladd. Great pickup of Bucky Irving. JL, great season. Stayed relatively healthy, too.
Hard to argue against that one.
Hard to argue with it. We have Jack, finished in second place, fifth in points forced. Obviously, Josh Allen trade, swindle of the year. Everyone called him a madman, but turned out to be a genius. We have Gut, third in points scored, finished first in his division. Burrow and Chase stack, third and fourth best fantasy players this year. Tyrone Tracy, great pickup. Feel like Gut just sneakily.
Did you make any trades?
No.
No trades.
Yeah,
Not a
not a
single
single
trade?
trade. No, I made a trade with you.
Yeah, it was like stupid as fuck. It was small. I'm
yeah,
trying to
it was
think.
It was like
end
that
of the
shit at the end of
season.
the year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
It
give me
was-
this guy
it
because
was
he
like
doesn't have a
Jacoby.
bye.
It was Jacoby Myers
And Josh Downs.
and Josh Downs for G-Dub.
Young and Wilson.
Yeah, and Young and
Or
Wilson. And Bryce Young ended up low-key carrying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a good trade. I feel like I don't know if it was like because your division was relatively weak, but I feel like we didn't really talk about your team, and then like 3 quarters through the way, we're like, Guts at like 8 wins right now.
Yeah.
You know, like Guts like 8-3. Like so.
Just happened.
Yeah, got yourself a bye week.
Yeah.
And then finally we have Casey, first in the regular season points. Won the Pookie Bear division, and throughout the year was averaging 142 points. I think I counted 3 weeks of 170 or higher in the regular season. There might have been a 4th in there, honestly. Yeah. But, I mean, Casey, throughout the entire year, like, we knew how dominant he was. I feel like he was consensus #1 team, constantly in his own tier in Sexy Power rankings.
Yeah. Casey's season is like the most like normal fantasy football season of all time. If you
100%.
Dominate the regular season, you're getting wiped in the playoffs. No one that is like first place throughout.
I will say, I feel like he managed his team pretty well because there were a lot, like he had so much depth, so many stars, and like there's a lot of pressure to like make a move because you can upgrade or not to do it. I feel like he actually pulled the right levers. He just got unlucky with the injury.
Yeah, like the way the stock of his team hit its lowest point entering which is tough.
Yeah, I feel like that
not
always
because,
happens.
right? Like he could have said, "Oh, I'm gonna ride with Jameis and Tillman and D-Hop," but he kind of got off those players and he moved on to Montgomery, which I felt was a solid move. They just got hurt. Yeah. The only mistake I guess he made was the Cousins thing. He even ended up with Charbonnet, so he had that insurance. Yeah. JL I think that's a sneaky good trade for him. But JL made like two trades, stayed healthy, had the best players. I don't know how much managed.
I guess I voted for you. I felt like everything just kind of like lined up in sync. Where it's like you made a super risky move, whereas like the other ones, like anything JL or Casey did, when your team is that stacked, it's low risk. Yeah. Even if it's big names, it's still like low risk. So you took the risk, and then like the Josh Allen performances lined up like right when the season was hitting its peak,
and similar to what I was mentioning with Casey, like sometimes not making the move, like keeping Keenan, which literally felt like the most insane move, like even 8 weeks in, turned out to be one of my best players down the stretch. And I kept Caleb on the roster the whole time. There's questions over like that, whether that would have been smart, but there was never really a good time to get off him, and I probably would have traded Keenum with him. So yeah, sometimes I feel like holding on to players isn't the worst.
The other reason too is because I feel like your draft strategy, where you got there so you went like complete 0 running back.
Yeah.
And then if you look at like anything on Twitter, there were basically 2 running backs that you could have had to dominate 0 running back this year. It was Chuba and Chase Brown. Yeah. And those are your 2 guys. So like it was a weird way to eventually get there, but that's how that strategy works. It's like you take a bunch of shots on random young explosive
to start the year.
Right. And then
and everyone's like quarterbacks aren't valuable, and then Allen scores 51 and
after week 1 I would have been like, you have like your running backs are helpless, and you had the best duo of running backs in the league.
I had Jaconte.
Also, like you said, not making a move, hanging on to Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
Good move.
That was big.
Fair.
There were multiple times I was on the couch and I was told to trade the quarterbacks, Keenan, Mark Andrews, and play the clip. Rashid Shaheed over Terry McLaurin. That was another one.
How much more money did you win than me this year?
That's the go-to.
Because it's facts.
Rashid,
both
Shaheed
broke.
First or nothing.
I wasn't sure in the recap from the chip who decided on that. I feel like I was a big proponent of like first or nothing for the prize pool.
You definitely were.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it was you and Casey.
Yeah.
I definitely remember Casey speaking up, being like,
I felt like it made it more
choice,
fun because it's just like for this league, it's all or nothing. And then you fucking idiots can be like, "Oh, you didn't win it.
You didn't win it, you fucking bitch."
What did JL do with the money?
I didn't even give it to him. You know what? You want to know the worst part?
He wants to remodel his bathroom. Real quickly, though, I do think that, like, I'm not sure if this is how people voted on, but, like, normally in the NFL, manager of the year, a lot of times is just, like, exceeded expectations. And like you were saying, like, Casey, JL's team stayed very healthy, all like performed well, not a lot of adversity that had to be overcome. So you were a good candidate. I didn't vote for you, but you were a good candidate.
But also a lot of those, it's like, all right, Dan Campbell, they go 15-2. Like a lot of people just pick the best.
Right, 100%.
I think JL's going to win.
I agree.
Him starting 0 through wild, though.
I think that goes under.
Yeah, he was good. He stayed cool, calm, collected. Maybe he didn't know what else to do, but that's what he did.
Forgot to check his app.
Yeah, between him and Joe and then my week 1, there was definitely like a very early on, the non-fantasy players are like completely screwed.
I think our entire division started 0-2.
Yeah.
Because I didn't win the first 2 weeks because Jamar and Burrow sucked.
We were a night.
Yeah.
Pookie Bears?
Yeah, no, it was bad.
Pookie Bears were all 2-0, and then your division was all 0-2.
Yeah.
And then it ended up being JL's division, your guys' division, who I actually felt was the worst division, but JL just kind of came out of it.
Like I wish like we could go back and like play out as if like the Pookie Bears was like divided up differently. It would have been a whole different fucking year, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, we all
Like
evened
Casey
out,
doing that fucked everyone.
It did even out though.
Like
more
your team and my team ended up like bottoming
like
out.
actually I know it's depending on who you play, but I think it was the top 6 records did end up in the playoffs and
it
off
was
points
close,
4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one ended up getting screwed in the format. But yeah, with 61% of the vote, JL is the manager of the year, so picks up another good award.
Yep.
JL, congrats on your double dub today.
Huge.
Nonetheless, I am grateful. Thank you for this award. Best manager, Big Cavs of Destiny. Best Big Cavs manager of the year. Let's go, baby. Next year, we bringing it back. Back to back. Best manager twice. Championship twice. Back to back, baby. Let's go.
If you guys are interested, runner-up was Gut with 19.6% of the vote, then Jack with 13.4%. Casey, it doesn't even give me a
Nominal
percentage.
fraction.
Yeah, nominal fraction.
No love.
All right, let's move on to, I believe, the
All right,
last.
congrats to Tony.
I believe the last award of 2024, the WOT Manager of the Year. Nominees are Joe with 2 wins, last in points, no real
Joe
injuries.
did the best he could.
I mean, realistically,
I'm about to shit on everyone, so I mean,
Joe did the best he could.
no real injuries, but did have 140 constantly dropped on him.
Yeah.
People were averaging 140 against Joe somehow. There was also
Jawan Jennings.
Oh, no. There was myself, 6 wins after starting 6-1.
Oh.
Lot of second least amount of points. Also claimed to have traded my way out of a bunch of wins. I dispute that hard, but people
I
are saying what
dispute
people
the
are saying.
dispute.
Agreed.
Right? Like
I don't believe it for a second.
No. Because everyone, that data was based on like the impending moves. But if you had kept Allen and Hubbard, you would have made like better moves
Sure.
to fill those slots.
Yeah.
What'd you make? Like 46 trades? this
Probably.
season?
No, I mean, the Josh Allen.
That's the stat
and-
we need.
The Josh
Yeah.
Allen and Chuba one was bad, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think from then on out, a lot of the moves, I don't look back and was like, oh, that was bad. I think most of the moves, if we reviewed them, were like beneficial outside of the fact that
I
some.
don't know. I go that far. I just look at it. I'm like, you trade away all your good players. That's really.
But I got
the
like
overarching-
better players in return.
Your team by the end of the season was horrific.
But it was because
Horrific.
of injuries.
But then you started overcompensating, and then you had to take gambles, so it just spiraled out of control.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you losing like Rashi was like the first like tip of the iceberg, and then it just
Yeah.
Spiraled.
Yeah.
From it.
Nico,
It was literally an
Well,
addict.
because
Like
it was
just
back-
start with something light, and then your
Yeah.
heroin addiction. At
it
the
was
end of
3 consecutive weeks where I lost Rashi, lost Nico, lost Olave. So my wide receiver room was
Yeah,
blown
that's-
out the fucking
that's
door.
fair.
And then, like,
It felt
yeah,
like
that's
you were, you know, those challenges where it's like start with $1, trade up. It felt like you were doing the op.
start with 1,000.
I'm going from
Get my
$1,000 to
down to a
$1.
penny.
For some reason, it was difficult.
Like
though.
you started offering me like 3 dudes for Javonte Williams. Like it just started to really get. But
It was bad.
there you didn't have anything because of the injury, so I understand. But yeah, you were transaction king.
To be
for
fair,
sure.
I didn't even vote for you, so you just have that.
I mean, I mentioned it before, but Joe had 2 wins. Both of them came from Kareem Hunt Monday night. Like, if he didn't pick up Kareem Hunt, he could have went 0-14.
well, guess what? He did.
Yeah,
He didn't.
Exactly.
That's
That
true.
makes it
That's
best manager.
Yeah.
All right.
Argue for best.
Another
manager.
nominee. We got Adam. Lost his QBs. Kind of on him. I mean, Deshaun Watson got hurt, but, like, he was bad.
drafting of the QBs though
was bad.
awful.
Yeah.
Like
I
anyone could have foreseen that situation happening.
Right.
Yeah,
He's-
like I voted for Adam, and I think the reason I did was simply because of I think how much he just mispredicted on what could have been, and that screwed him in the end. Of like he was like, oh well, if this pans out and this pans out, I'll be fine. But like you
I
can't
don't
just
even
keep.
think it was misprediction. I said from the start. I like unequivocally he was the worst move.
But yeah, but like he made the Purdy trade, and like if Purdy would have stayed healthy, then it would have been fine. But he just like cooked, and it's I think him not making those moves earlier in the season is what killed him.
Who was that 3? It was who were his 3 quarterbacks around like week 7 or 8. Wasn't it like Watson?
It was
Watson, Levis.
Levis.
And maybe
was it
O'Connell
Russ
or-
it was
no.
Fields, right?
It was Fields.
It was
yeah.
Fields.
And so that's what I mean. It wasn't mispredictions. Like everyone could see with their own 2 eyes. Those 3 were not making it to the end.
They were
And he
all
just
on the hot seat.
Yeah, he just
Yeah.
wouldn't make a move.
I remember trying to make the trade before I traded that package of like Cup and Darnold for Kyron. I was like, because he had Achan, Henry, like all these guys. I was like, let's make a move. You have 3 quarterbacks who are like probably not gonna be starting in 3 weeks. He's like, I'll figure that out like
Right,
when
he
I get
kept
there.
saying-
I'm like,
I think that's
At
awful
the-
management.
Yeah,
Agreed,
and
yeah.
at the time, like if you would have traded CMC when the hype was there, boom, his team could have been
It would have been his
disgusting.
favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he had swapped Casey offered, I mean, I guess the package doesn't look as good, but he had some legit. What did you offer him for McCaffrey? You made
I
him
didn't
an
offer anything for McCaffrey. I wanted Achan or Henry.
I mean,
There's a lot of people.
But
that
I was
offered
offering like that
McCaffrey.
same package for Achan, right? Like what I got for Kyron, Cooper Kupp, who was like off of a good
Yeah,
game,
yeah.
and Darnold, who's playing well for Achan.
I think for McCaffrey, I might have floated Caleb, Keenan, and maybe even like a Chuba because it was before Chuba had really like he had some stuff that he could have made league-winning moves, and he actually made league-losing.
yeah, it was the opposite of what you said. Sometimes the best move is not making a move.
Yeah.
You probably should have made a move.
Yeah.
And then finally, last Wout nominee is Nate, who finished last in his division, and for the first half of the year was in his own tier of being terrible.
He did
And
the
I
best
feel
he
like
could.
He
The
did.
best he could.
I feel like that was like a consensus we all had was that like Nate's team is in such trouble. I think the dude was even practicing his stand-up by
He was
week
like he was
6.
like locked in for last place up until probably like week 10.
Yeah, then he went on
Yeah.
like a
But
3-game run.
then he turned around. I feel like he's not even in the
And he
mix
made
yet.
some like fair trades. Like I
Another
feel like he was
thing
like
that makes Andrew worse than you, he's never on his
Adam.
phone. I mean, Adam, you can't even communicate with him. So how
it's
are
like
you
he's a
gonna
kid
even-
or something.
He's like a
Jeez.
GM who's got
He
a
has
fucking
2 kids.
Yeah, he's got children. Like unless you have a child, I
Yeah, like
think.
fucking grow up or
Yeah,
something.
This kid's
Jeez.
be answering the phones.
He answers me as soon as I text him. That feels like it's
It's a
you got to
respect.
build
Yeah,
better
that's-
relationships maybe.
Yeah.
No, he does.
Woke
If
manager
he's
type
only
energy.
answering his boss, that's not a good GM.
answers
You
me
need to
pretty
have
fast.
all 32 GMs on the
I
phone.
texted him like what?
I called
yesterday,
it. At
and
one
then
point, I
he
fucking
answered
called
right
the
away.
dude. I was like, "Can we make a move?"
That's so
And,
funny.
Yeah, he just.
Yeah.
He actually didn't see that until
I know.
like weeks later. I remember he like hit me up and he was like, I got this voicemail from Jack. What was this? I was like, you didn't see that piece of content? You have 9 hours to make this trade.
Yeah, what was that trade off? I think it was for McCaffrey.
Probably.
Yeah, I think
It was like
so.
a straight swap, someone for McCaffrey.
It might have just been Caleb for McCaffrey, which
Or Marvin
That
Harrison
still
or
would have been a
something.
better deal
yeah,
for him.
that's fair. All right, the results are in with 60.3% of the vote.
It's gotta be.
The Woat Manager of the Year is Tony No
Yeah,
Dimes.
Tony.
2024
Yeah, that's rough.
first
Oh,
year.
shit.
Whoa.
There you go. There's your.
Thank you, good sir. I mean, look, it's an honor. It's your idiot league mates. I'm the people's idiot. The bottom of the totem pole. Only one direction to go from here, and that's up. Imagine the comeback next year when I win Best Manager.
What awards can we do in our preview show next year? Are there any, you pick like MVP, Rookie of the Year, stuff like that for regular NFL? Like, I wonder what awards we could predict that would be fun to
Most trades, we could do
Yeah.
stuff like that. Who is going to drop the biggest fab dollar
Yeah.
amount? Maybe.
Tell UD to get all these futures up.
Get
we
the
need
futures up.
futures up.
the season longers. Good job, Tone. You were Walt Manager, GOAT, content organizer of the league.
I don't think I deserve it, but I'll take it. I like to say Joe was like very close to 0-14.
It's like the
I still
coach that
won
gets-
6
it's
games.
like the coach
Yeah.
that gets fired. It's like I did
Yeah,
the
was
most.
it?
I don't.
That's-
That was the DC. That was my DC,
yeah.
This
not
is
me.
DC getting blamed.
Yeah, that's
for all the
insane.
losses. Yeah.
I'm like Brian Daboll. I'm just like, I had Daniel Jones. All
Yeah.
right, like fuck you guys. All right, well those are all the awards. Oh, I'm totally lying. We have one of the most important awards yet: the best moment or the best piece of content of the year.
This was a good category.
Yeah. So the 4 nominees is Jack sneaking into playoffs with Chase Brown in Dallas, watching the game live. We have the Idiot League Mate live draft that we had in here with everybody. The Josh Allen trade. I think that was week 3 preview. And then the Kareem Hunt Monday Night Miracle. It was a loaded category.
Yeah,
A lot of good moments.
I don't even know what I would choose as the winner. Like I think on paper, the Chase Brown moment should win. We were there. It came down to the last 2 minutes, got you into the playoffs. But there's
There's something about Kareem.
There's
Hunt.
something
You
about
know,
Kareem
he's
Hunt.
a guy.
There really is.
It's because
This is the
dude
guy that
was-
gave us
He's a
two
guy that-
video endings.
And is the dude who's like shirtless by himself. Like, yes, it was cool we were all together in a suite, but it's equally
Just
as
not
funny that-
relatable at all.
Yeah, exactly. It's the least relatable thing ever. And then
Whereas
you have
Joe
Joe's
going
fighting for his life. The only problem with those is like they
Joe-
didn't turn out to mean anything.
No, but
Besides-
Joe goes
Don't think
besides-
it'll
over.
matter, though.
Joe gets 0 wins without those
Right,
performances.
right,
Like
right.
that's-
Literally.
That content is so memorable that I think that will take the cake.
Yeah.
Live
That's
draft
what
was
I voted
fun.
for.
Also, Joe's like the people's person. Like Joe,
Right.
like
Yeah.
That's why he
the
definitely
fact that
also
he didn't win Woke Manager
Yeah.
is of course the people's
yeah,
fault.
100%.
And I don't think the Allen trade is gonna. It's probably like the biggest storyline that carried the longest throughout the season, but it wasn't like that hostile.
Nah,
in the
definitely won't be
moment.
it.
It was definitely cool in the moment though. Like
Like,
I
I've-
remember we were in here like negotiating live on camera for like an hour.
For
It felt
sure.
like.
It was like a full episode.
Yeah.
It was just
The amount
negotiating.
of conversation, the amount of pieces of content I feel like that ended up doing that within the first like 7 weeks was insane.
Yeah.
I would say sneaky. Was this one like discussed? I feel like Burrow Chase. Like
that was one of my nominees.
because I feel like it actually wasn't in the content, the big moments like us shitting on Gut during the draft, like that type of stuff.
Well,
But
Mine was that one conversation that you and Casey were like face to face
Yeah.
when he was saying that the Chase Burrow would be the woke stack
Yeah,
of all
the
time.
worst. He said they would be the worst. Like, and I was pulling up like old, like fucking
Yeah.
the Marius Thomas and Peyton Manning in
Peyton
2015,
Manning.
and I was like, "There's no fucking chance they're worse than this." He's like, "They will be." I got prop, and he was like, "I was like, put $1,000 on it," and he wouldn't put $1,000 on that. He would only put it on the fact that they would go under their fancy projected from like then on. And I was
Which
like,
they probably
it would have lost too. But I was
That
like,
was
in
a-
a moment,
I
I'm
put a
like,
nominee in for that
that
one
is
for sure.
insane. I'm like, if you're gonna stand on business, stand on business.
and then it turned into like, yes, they were playing well, but Kirk Mooney was
Yeah.
like actually like countering.
That was
them.
like and then it, like eventually it just like took off, and then I
Yeah.
didn't hear about it since.
They
but-
continue to go to the moon.
We
and
had
then
that one
Mooney
little
and
like side
Kirk.
thing here where they were when I was 0-2, and it was just me and Casey going back and forth like for like one of the previews or whatever. And he was like, "So what happens when the Bengals go 0-6 and Chase gets benched and they just tank?" And I'm like, "That's not gonna fucking happen. Like we have that somewhere."
Yeah.
That whole guy. That was like a 20-minute.
footage of
That was like a
that.
20-minute.
I
put a
asked those
compilation
two
together
to.
of
I
him
don't
just
remember
talking
what
about
I
Chase.
asked those two to do. It was like it might have been like react to this trade, and then I get 30 minutes of them talking about Burrow and Chase, and I'm like, this is just not
There
what
was
I
a
need.
point.
them
There
going
was a
into the
point in
year.
time where I like dreaded coming into the office because it's all I fucking heard about. Like, and I was like, "This is the most aggravating
and
thing."
week one didn't help.
No,
week
not
one
week
did
one
not-
and two. And two, they shit the bed too. They like combined 15 points.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was throwing a temper
Yeah.
tantrum against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
All right. Well, best moment of the year, best piece of content goes to, with 51.1% of the vote, Kareem Hunt, Monday
As it
Night
should.
Miracle. Either way, it doesn't matter. Kareem Hunt's coming through. Lock it in.
We'll see, Joe.
All right, it's halftime. It's about to be the third quarter. Kareem Hunt has 13.7 points. I need roughly 5 points to win. I think like 4.5, 4.7 or something. And I feel terrible. I know how this is going to go. It's probably going to go. He gets like 30 more yards, finishes with like 16.8 points, and I lose by 2. And I'm 0-5. So I feel good, but I'm also extremely scared. Chiefs just scored another touchdown, and they got down to the goal line, took Hunt out, ran some fucking, like Chiefs shit fucking play where Xavier Worthy scores a touchdown on like the 3-yard line. So they're up 22-13. Oh my god. I can't fucking do this. I can't play fantasy football anymore.
Joe literally needs a 3-yard carry to tie, a 4-yard carry to win. 2nd and 17, 4 minutes to go. Do not hand the ball to Kareem Hunt. Thank you. Oh, he's not even on the field. That's elite. Sack him. Yes. Yes.
Mahomes gets sacked. Oh my god, oh no, he's actually in the game.
No, he's on the field.
Kareem Hunt's in the fucking game. Just run a fucking draw play. Run a draw play for 4 fucking yards.
He's on the field. This might be the last play of the Chiefs offense. Do not give it to him. They're giving it to him.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm pretty sure that's 5 yards. I'm pretty sure he just got 5 fucking yards.
That was enough. He got fucking 5 yards.
I swear to fucking God, please be 5 yards. I mean, if it's 4 yards, we tie. If it's 5 yards, just don't be 3 yards.
On their last offensive play of the game.
I'm gonna fucking marry Kareem Hunt just for my first win. Oh my God.
As it
Hey,
should.
Joe's leaving here with something.
There you
Yeah,
go.
as you should. As you should.
Hey, will best content be his punishment?
Could be.
Oh
I
yeah.
feel so bad
Best
for him.
content may have.
He
we
doesn't
have
deserve. He doesn't
Are we-
deserve that.
is
He
he
did everything
doing
he
it?
could.
He's fucking
he's
doing
got
it.
it.
Like, I feel like there's been so much like bullshit discussion about him maybe not doing.
From
He's
led
trying.
by
He's
who
trying
and
to
what?
find
Maybe
a different
him.
punishment to do.
Yeah,
That's the thing. But I don't think he will.
All right, we got to get this on the calendar. Like, I got to
No.
fly in for this.
Listen,
Yeah.
it's
When are you
I'm
moving?
gonna organize
February.
it. I'm gonna lock it down, but we're gonna do it when it's nice out, probably in the spring, so that we can make a night out.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to do it in 20-degree winter weather.
No,
here.
I agree. I agree.
We'll do
Yeah.
it. I'll lock it down.
Go to the
But it'll
bar,
be
get
in
the
a few
boys
months.
boozed up, and then we're
Do you-
fucking rolling.
Do you think it's funnier if he just does that, or if he does it in front of like if we invite Idiot League followers?
Ooh.
Like if
be
he
good.
just had to do a full stand-up bit in front of all the people who watch.
We should fill
or is
it
it
out
funnier
and-
because it's like complete randos and we're just in the
I
corner?
think we should
giggling?
invite them
To the show.
because if not, here's the way it's gonna work. Like we're gonna have to do it at an open mic place because that's the only place that'll just let randoms in. So there won't be a ton of people there. There'll be like 15, maybe 20 people in the crowd plus the 10 here.
Yeah.
So I think if we drop the address maybe like a day before, so we get an extra like 10, 15, 20 people there, I think that would pack the place and get people hyped.
And
Just
peak
pack the place out.
embarrassment.
Don't tell Joe. Just
Peak embarrassment.
Well, dude, it was actually funny. So I was having drinks like a month or two ago with John Franklin from.
Oh yeah.
And he does comedy now. Like he does it all the time. And he was telling me, he's like, yeah, he's like, I can get whoever loses. We were talking about the punishment. He's like, I can get whoever loses to like open one of my shows.
Really?
Because he does like bigger crowds where there's like actually people.
Oh
there,
my,
you
that
know?
would be
Joe,
amazing.
And at the time I was like, yeah. But I'm like, that I feel like would be a little bit too far.
What?
we-
I feel
nah.
like that's so necessary.
It's now that that's
Maybe.
out there, like you
if it
kind of
was
have to.
if
do
it was like you, I'd say yes.
Yeah.
But with how stage fright Joe actually is, I would feel horrible as a
Joe said
person.
in his New Year's resolutions, he's
Yeah.
he's opening up.
That I
you
feel
know?
bad because I
that's
feel bad for
that's-
anyone.
yeah.
Jumping out the plane.
dunk his head in the
Yeah.
ditch.
Yeah, that's insane. It's like I want to start swimming. All right, here's the ocean. bitch.
No, we got to do it. All right.
All right.
It'll be done.
Yep. That's all we got for the 2024 Your Idiot League Mates Awards first annual. Can't wait to bounce back from the Vote Manager of the Year.
I'm trying to draft right now.
Facts.
Did Mod not even have a nomination?
He got Cone of the Year for Debo. We gave him that one. But if you guys have any suggestions for content that you want to see during the off season, down below is an email, idiot@bdg.co. You can send any questions that you have, content ideas, awards that maybe you guys threw out in your
Merch.
fantasy leagues. What about merch?
I think it would be cool if we made merch for the league.
Some merch ideas?
Yeah.
I think we should make
Pennies.
pennies would be fucking elite.
Pennies, or even like what the trophy should look like.
So the combine now will just turn into like your
Yeah.
idiot league mate, your whatever, like Kyle pick, like
Dude,
go.
your Idiot
whoa.
League Mates pennies and
Should we
hoodies
do-
would be elite.
Has there been discussions like could the combine be for the draft order?
No, we're not doing that. Fuck that.
Yeah,
I'm
because
out.
Joe,
No,
Joe
but-
and I would lock. Like,
Yeah,
one
no,
and two.
no, we're not doing that.
Okay.
We could do it as like
No, but like as like a scale. Or
I was
like,
thinking about doing something similar to that, but it would be like
like performance.
whatever
yeah.
your over unders are, if you cash all of your overs,
Right.
like you're already put in higher or whatever, and then
Right.
figure it out from there.
I don't know.
and
just
then
some
It's a
ideas.
discussion for the winter meetings.
All right, we got to go. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Like this video. Subscribe to the channel. Idiot@bdg.co. Email us. We're out of here.